Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to this next webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm delighted to be joined today by James Ferrara, who is, of course, the president of Inteletravel. And James is joining us today all the way from New York. So welcome, James.
Thank you. And I certainly would prefer to be with you in London. Can't wait till that happens again.
Well, we all are hoping to be traveling soon. But listen, it's great to see you. We saw you over in the UK. You came and spoke at one of our events, but we haven't seen you for a while. So I think it's good to get an update on, your business. And you actually released some information for us that we covered last week, which was around your growth in the UK. So perhaps you just want to bring us up to speed on that. It was really focusing on the number of agents that you've recruited here and also your turnover, the sales that you're doing. So perhaps cover that off for us first, James.
Sure. We've been a bit busy since I've seen you last. Our offering in the UK has been far more attractive, it turns out, to people than we expected. I mean, people ask me all the time what my projections are for our business in the UK. And to be frank with you, we passed my numbers quite a while ago. So it really is about the market demands and what the market will bear. But we have doubled our turnover year over year in our first full year, really, of business. And we'll end this year in excess of 25 million pounds turnover. And again, we're babies still. And that is in the pandemic year, I might point out also. So what it might have been is another issue. But I'm very, very pleased with the progress, and so are our suppliers. It's phenomenal growth. And there aren't many places in the market in the UK or elsewhere that can claim that kind of growth. It's partially driven by the number of agents that are model, right? We are an aggregator of business from independent advisors, and the number of advisors has grown phenomenally in the same time. We are approaching 11,000 independent travel advisors in the UK, and it's throughout the UK. It's not London. It's from the far north to the Channel Islands. It's Northern Ireland and Wales. We are throughout the country, and we have been successful because of the nature of our offering. It's such a reasonable offering. It is such a low bar of entry into the travel industry, but also we've had a push this year from the pandemic. So if we're allowed to find any kind of blessing in the adversity this year, and there are people who have truly suffered this year, so I do want to remember that. But people have opened their minds this year, or been forced to. They have reassessed their lives, reassessed their priorities, their quality of life, their lifestyle, and they have found in us something powerful. And for some of them, it's about not being in that position again where a single employer can furlough you and stop your income or stop your career. So it's about putting yourself in charge, at least in part, as a second income stream, as a backup, as a future. You know, we say your plan B with Inteletravel can often become your plan A, right? Because it's so effective. So there's that going on. And of course, there are people who've been displaced in the travel industry to the tune of tens of thousands. Okay? So they found us.
Yeah. All right. I mean, you talk about it potentially being a plan B, and is that still the case for most people? I ask that because on the numbers that you have just outlined, you know, it's fantastic that you've doubled your sales, but we're talking 25 million, which divided by, I think it was 10,500 when you sent your release. It's probably grown since then, but you know, we're talking about on average, each of your advisors doing about £2,500 worth of sale, which is obviously not an awful lot. So that might suggest that it is a plan B. It's not a really big earner for people. And then there are some people that are suggesting that actually they're not really selling to clients at all. It's just all around their own holidays. So I don't know if, you know, when you actually break it down, you know, it doesn't seem that people are really earning a lot from this model.
If you were in my math or statistics class, I would fail you because I call that the lie of averages. Right? There are thousands of people who have just joined us in the last few months. There are people who have joined us in the last week, yesterday. There are others who are opening storefronts in the UK. The beauty of our model is that there's such a variation available, such an array of options in terms of your level of investment and commitment and engagement, how much time you're going to put in. I work just on Saturday morning, you're putting in 4 or 5 days a week or more, and there's every shade in between. So that kind of math doesn't tell you anything. First of all, you're holding it up against a standard in the old-fashioned traditional industry. So they're not truly equal. If I were taking up a spot in your high street store, you would expect me to produce at least hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not £1 million myself. Otherwise, I'm costing you taking up your space. This is a different model. It has different measures. And we're also dealing, again, in the pandemic year. So, you know, that levels everything. You have to look at different types of agents in different scenarios to understand the productivity. Everything we do is aimed at increasing the productivity, giving them better sales skills, giving them more product. That's what, you know, Trish Handley Hughes, our UK director, I and the whole team are dedicated to.
Okay, and I will come back because I do want to talk about your product and the operators that you're working with that you mentioned earlier. But in terms then, just before we move on from the model, because your press release that we quoted you as saying, James, that, you know, the growth vindicated your model. And yet every time we write a story about Inteletravel, we get quite a lot of comments on our website beneath that story questioning the model. Perhaps we don't understand, and that's why you're here to explain it. But the main criticism is that people don't seem to understand whether these are real travel agents or if they're just it's more of a recruitment model. You know, they've called it a pyramid scheme before, but there's still people commenting and questioning the Planet marketing involvement, how they're recruiting. And then and I know you've said, even in this story we ran this week, you said, no, look, Planet does the recruiting, but when you're an Inteletravel agent, you're not recruiting. And yet I've seen with my own eyes on social media, Inteletravel agents recruiting. So just explain that, perhaps in your own words, because we've only given you a chance in a couple of paragraphs in the story, but explain here to clear up what you think your model is.
Well, first let me say, you have to ask who the criticism is from. What this has done has vindicated our assessment of the market in the UK, that we could be successful there, that our offering would be attractive. And it has vindicated our model with suppliers and customers. That's all that's important. The criticisms that we see are from competitors, right? And of what ilk, who knows? Who knows how productive those particular competitors are? But I can tell you, all criticism from competitors is about fear. And I don't blame them. We've grown to 11,000 agents in the UK when they said we'd never even get started. We've sold 25 million pounds in this year of crisis and pandemic. I don't know how much they've sold. They've lost ground.
Okay, so explain the plan.
That criticism doesn't, just to tell you, that criticism is of no consequence.
Okay, all right, but in terms of just explain the Planet bit, James, just so, because I think you said you'd spent loads, you weren't very good at recruiting yourselves. You appointed this company who are brilliant at recruiting. But obviously people are questioning that whole relationship between Planet and Inteletravel.
And that's an important point. I mean, for years, I've tried every method of recruiting that there is. We've done cable television advertising. We've done radio advertising. We've tried affiliate programs, referral incentives with our agents. And we were never very good at it, as you say. It just was not a very efficient way to grow. And when you get into advertising, it cost us quite a bit of money, and not sure I ever made that money back, frankly. Then we found this company who is cost effective and extremely efficient and accomplished at recruiting. We explained our relationship to ABTA, to CLIA, to anyone who needed to understand it. They very seriously and thoroughly analyzed it, asked all the questions, asked for all the proof, and we satisfied them.
So they are totally separate companies.
Totally separate. Well, I have no involvement in that company. It's a third-party contractor. I even have no covert investment, no degree of control other than a marketing agreement.
So does the confusion come then? Because there are people who work for Planet who are also Inteletravel agents. Is that, because that...
Exactly right. They're our distributor, right?
Yeah.
They're a hired sales force. And just as though you were a salesperson in the showroom for a Jaguar, right? You might so appreciate your product that you would also buy it for yourself and drive it. And so there are people at Planet who also have become Inteletravel agents. And if you say you've seen evidence of agents being involved in the recruiting, that's somebody who wears both hats, but has gotten confused which hat they should have on at the moment. There is no program that allows Inteletravel agents.
And do you clamp down on that, James? Because I can see it, that it says that they work for Inteletravel and they're recruiting. It doesn't say on Planet marketing. Okay.
Of course we clamp down on it.
What do you do?
We do have people who make mistakes. If the mistakes are serious, if they're egregious, those people are no longer affiliated with us.
Okay.
They're taught
All right.
and disciplined.
Okay. And just, obviously the numbers are impressive, nearly 11,000. Some people have suggested there's quite a churn. So how many join and stay? I mean, obviously if you've got enough because you're growing, but do you get quite a lot who join, they try it out and then they fall away?
Well, sure, there's some. It's not, I wouldn't characterize it as quite a lot, but we give them opportunity. There is no long-term contract with us.
Okay.
Once you affiliate with us, you choose every month, and we have to earn your business every month because you could simply stop whenever you want. There is no commitment. Also, we offer an upfront 30-day, no questions asked, 100% money back guarantee. If you've joined and in your first 30 days, you've poked around and you've tried things and you've taken our training and you don't like it and it's not for you, you get all your money back and you move on your way. We also offer, and this is unprecedented as far as I know, we offer a 1-year profit assurance. On the anniversary of your affiliation with us, if you haven't made more than it costs you to be affiliated with us, we'll actually return the difference to you.
Okay.
Anyone else who does that. And I can tell you that the number of people who take advantage of that is tiny.
So most people do well and they actually make more money.
Of course.
Great. I've got lots I want to ask you, so I'm going to keep moving quite quickly, James. You mentioned the pandemic. you said it obviously offered an opportunity for some people, but obviously it's been a terrible time. It's been very trying. Travel agents have been right at the front of this. They've been having to deal with customers wanting their money back. You mentioned that some people in your model might just work on a Saturday morning. How has that been possible for them to do that when dealing with all these cancellations, refunds, rebooks? You know, how have your advisors, when they do work in these different ways, how have they coped with the pandemic?
Well, in our model, again, one of the strengths of it is you work for yourself, but not by yourself. We provide a tremendous amount of support, not only in the technology, but in the hand-holding side of the operations. And we deal with suppliers for our agents. We set up the proper operational processes for them. We quality control. So I would argue that it's much easier to deal with the everyday challenges of being a travel advisor if you're affiliated with Inteletravel than it is certainly if you're out on your own, and maybe if you're affiliated with other companies. And particularly, I'm proud of our performance as a company during this pandemic. We have assisted in countless refunds and rebookings, and there isn't one customer out there who's been left unsatisfied.
Okay, well, that's impressive. I mean, I just know that a lot of agents that I'm aware of, I mean, they've worked literally round the clock. I mean, they have, and obviously getting no income at the time, in fact, actually just giving money back. I mean, it's been exhausting for people. And I just wondered, given that yours are not full-time, not all, I know some of them are, but a lot of them are full-time, how that had, you know, they had to step up, if they had to, you know, work more hours to make sure that you don't leave anybody, as you say, unsatisfied?
Of course. I mean, I'm telling you, they have advantages in the marketplace because of their affiliation with Inteletravel, but they face the same challenges. They have to sweat the same way.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then. You talked about a couple of times, you've mentioned the suppliers that you're working with. And I know when we spoke a year ago and you brought Trisha in, and one of her jobs was to try and, you know, grow the base of suppliers that you're working with. Can you give us an idea of where that is now? And, you know, have you grown it? How many suppliers have thought this is a good distribution channel to work with Inteletravel?
Look, we're beyond suppliers. You know, we're working with everyone. And in terms of preferred suppliers, we keep a certain stable very close to us.
Okay, and is that like quite an official thing? You've got a preferred supplier program within the organization?
And they support our marketing, our events. They support our agents in a special way. We have VIP service lines set up with our preferred suppliers and so on. So, you know, our training, which is the best in the industry, according to our suppliers, you know, includes them, fully supported by them. So, you know, our story has moved on from that, frankly, Lucy, in that, you know, we're working with everyone. Our story has moved on from, I mean, I understand people have questions, but we've moved on from defending ourselves or any controversy. We're focused on business. That's where this growth comes from. And I have to say, if there's you know, and there are competitors out there who seem a little too focused on us. If they worked for my agency, I would ask them why they're spending so much time looking over there in Inteletravel and not focused on their own business. In this market, if you have not used this year to make yourself sharper and better, you've squandered a really critical opportunity, and you will be weakened in the coming year. So don't
but every company, whether I know you're in a growth mode and I get that, but every company, I don't think there will be one company that hasn't had to really look at their costs, restructure, just look at everything, because it is so decimating to the travel industry, what we're going through. So what have you had to do? Have you had to rein in on any plans, any investment? And I'm talking particularly for the UK market.
Well, as a manager, during this year, we have to keep a sharp eye on costs, but I've had a different approach. This was not a year to contract. This was a year to look for the opportunities, right? In the adversity, to find the opportunities. Sir Winston Churchill had a great quote about that optimists look for opportunity in adversity, pessimists look for adversity in opportunity, right? So I took this time to actually invest. And we are blessed to have the resources to be able to do that in a time when making acquisitions, investing in technology, investing in changes to our model in the coming future. We were able to do it, as I say, blessed to be able to make those investments. And it is advantageous time to make those investments because there are agencies looking to sell, and there are technology companies and suppliers who need the revenue. So a big change that we can't say too much about publicly, but we're preparing to package our own product. And
well, I know you are, James, because we talked about this about 8 months ago. I think you were hoping, I remember writing a story saying you were weeks away from getting your Atoll license in order to start packaging your own product. And that's
I don't know about weeks away. I wouldn't speak for the CAA and Atoll on
so where is your
you have an application in?
Got an application in, and why is there such a big delay? I mean, because we've got obviously Atoll's coming round now. So are you about to tell us that you're getting your Atoll?
They are coming around now. They've had a rather busy year, yes, but it's complex. We have to do a lot of tooling in our model to be able to have independent agents responsibly package product. And that's all underway. It's a lot of development work going on to fulfill the Atoll certificates and that. I promise you, you'll see it shortly, and that'll be very impressive. But I'm really not talking about that. I'm talking about the company packaging product. Not individual agents dynamically packaging.
Oh, okay, all right.
The Atoll license is for. We have to go back to Atoll to go into the packaging business ourselves. That's a different kind of license. But what I've done is secured inventory during this time. Pre-purchased inventory, if you will, because we have the revenue available and the suppliers need it now.
Okay,
So,
and presumably you've then got that at quite a good rate. Is that what you were saying about taking advantage in a difficult situation?
We've been able to strike deals that work for the suppliers in this market and will give us a powerful advantage as the market rebounds. Okay,
so you are going to create holidays, Inteletravel Holidays, or whatever you're going to call it, that your agents can sell as a package, but they're not packaging it up themselves under their own atolls. This is under your atoll, is that right? Okay, all right. And then in terms of, I guess it's a bit of a crystal ball, but how much would you like to see yourself or of your sales being your own holidays then, Inteletravel Holidays, compared to just selling, the supplier holidays?
Well, it's a higher margin business, but it will always be a healthy mix. So I'm looking to add to our profitability, of course, but it'll always be a healthy mix. We'll do an excellent job for our suppliers as a retailer, and I expect we'll do an excellent job for them now as a packager.
Yeah, and you said it's a better margin. Is that the driver, or is it more around securing your own destiny? Because we know a lot of retailers, particularly through the pandemic, feel like they may have been let down a bit by some tour operators, and they've said actually, you know, they're going to put more store into their own tour operation.
I think for me, it is clearly about healthy margins. I have no illusions. Being a packager or a tour operator is fraught with challenge, operational challenges. So anyone who would do this because they think they could do a better job than suppliers, I think is, our suppliers do an excellent job.
So we lost you there, James. Anyone who thinks they can do a better job than suppliers is what?
Is misled.
Right.
I think our suppliers have done an excellent job by and large. A lot of respect for them. This is not about replacing them or thinking that we can do a better job. It's simply adding to our margin. Otherwise, as a retailer, you're limited to whatever that percent is that the marketplace will bear. And you do have that strange thing in the UK, and I can say this as a bit of an outsider, where you have popular tour operators and suppliers who don't protect prices for travel agents. And so customers can go directly to that supplier and get the product for less.
Yeah, well, agents are always calling for price parity, but you're right, there are some, it doesn't happen everywhere, and it does cause consternation, of course.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to be, so I mean, I'm keep calling it Inteletravel Holidays. Is that, I mean, that's a guess, but is that the plan?
No, I have no name for you yet.
Okay, but it will be a sort of a tour operating business brought together by you. You've been spending this time in the pandemic buying up product. And is it in a particular type of holiday? Is it cruise? Is it long haul, short haul, or is it a mix?
It's across the board, but cruise is an important part of it. That's another perspective that we bring from our other work elsewhere in the world, is a focus on cruise. So cruise is an important part of it. These are not, I mean, this is a big move for us, an important strategy. But we've also invested in technology. We've built our own condo, villa, vacation rental booking engine. We have our own booking engine for activities around the world, over 100,000 activities, everything from a 10-pound walking tour to a couple of £1,000 behind the scenes private ballet lesson in Paris at the ballet. So we've done that. We're building a CRM right now. We're taking this time to invest where it will change our business.
Yeah, sorry, James, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You're talking there about growing your technology and building these things which sound like they're bespoke for you. But in the release and the story we ran, you talked about acquiring. You were quite acquisitive.
Yeah.
So are you also looking to acquire technology to do whatever your new strategy is?
We are. And we're deep right now into an acquisition on machine learning and artificial intelligence technology. In our call centers that support our agents, we take over 12,000 inquiries a week. And that kind of technology helps us serve our agents better and therefore our customers.
And will that impact the agents in the UK?
Of course.
Yeah, that would be a benefit to them as well. And just before we move on from acquisitions, but you mentioned there that there were agencies up for sale. I mean, are you also looking at acquiring, I mean, yes, you're going to do the technology investment, but are you actually potentially looking at some agencies that are distressed and you might bring them on board in some way? Because that's a different sort of route for you.
You know, Lucy, almost daily, I get approached by agency owners and managers around the world, not just in the UK. There are opportunities in the UK. For me, that kind of acquisition is an expansion opportunity. So we're looking outside the UK, and particularly Canada right now is a great example. Acquiring an agency can be a shortcut to getting started in a new country, for example. We didn't do that in the UK, and you saw how easy that was for us. So
So if you were to do that, that's not something you're looking at for the UK, or would you never say no? I mean, you say you're being approached all the time, including the UK. So are you just saying not from it? That's not our model. That's not for us.
I'm considering it in the UK, but it has to be the right fit. Really, I'm not interested in acquiring a simple brick and mortar agency on a high street somewhere. There are other home worker networks in the UK that could add to our ranks almost overnight. There are operations in the UK that have technical facilities or other types of locations that would be of interest to us. I really can't say more than that. So,
well, I know, but I'm going to keep asking you.
That's fine. The UK is not off the table in any sense.
Okay, but let's be clear. What would be, you're saying what you'll be interested in is other home working agencies that you could easily just bring into your operation because that would be a natural fit, and you're not interested in any presence on the high street.
Not a traditional presence, not a single location agency. There are other things too. For example, there are databases out there of cruise customers, and some companies are looking to shed assets. So there's a variety of opportunities in the UK that interest us right now.
And if you acquired databases, is that, how would you serve them? Because currently your agents come to you and they build their own client databases, don't they? And we know it's friends and family initially, and then hopefully they grow their business. But so what would you do? Would you set up a new part of your business if you suddenly had a database of, let's say, great cruise customers? Would that be Inteletravel?
It's actually not a new, we already have the technology for lead generation and distribution. We already use that. So right. This would feed into that in some way. We could distribute customers to our existing agents. And isn't that a clear advantage to be affiliated with Inteletravel? We're not only going to teach you how to mine your own audience, but we're going to provide customers to you as well.
So you've got the technology to do lead generation.
We already do this. Yeah.
You do. And do you give them leads at the moment to some of them already in the UK?
We do.
You do. So it would just be adding to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're probably coming close to time, James. But you mentioned training at one point, and I know you said you'd done something like 15,000 hours of training in the 3 months to July. And I know it's something you had to do a lot of work on in order to get your ABTA membership, etc. So do you want to just bring us up to speed on your plans for training in the future and any other sort of vision you have for the company?
Just to clarify, the work that we had to do for ABTA was regulatory training to make sure our agents understood the code of conduct and the role of several organizations in the UK. The idea of training in terms of sales skills and business skills is something that has always existed at Inteletravel, and we do it everywhere we are. In the UK, Tricia Hughes has done an amazing job in building that program. And again, the pandemic pushed us to virtual events, which actually allowed us to have more agents at events. And she routinely runs events now every week that have 700 or 1,000 agents in attendance. Since we provided those figures to you, she did a destination showcase with 20 convention and visitors bureaus and destination organizations from around the world. We did it virtually. We had 1,000 agents attend and meet and get trained by all those destinations. So we're very innovative in events in general, and now particularly with online events. And another part of our investment and over the last several months has been a convention and meetings platform that allows us to do a little bit more than this Zoom call, for example. It's very engaging, it's very graphic. There are sidebar classrooms, there are chat rooms with suppliers, there is a virtual trade show, And there are several products like that out there, but this is the best of them that I've seen. And we're now conducting our larger events on that platform.
Okay, and presumably that will continue for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so now it's changed our strategy about events. And, you know, you've got to be careful of the pendulum swing. Now we're all over here, right? And everything is virtual necessarily. It's not going to swing back to all live. It's going to be in the middle now where we can, and the events will be hybrid. So you and I might attend in person along with 400 or 500 other people, but we might have 2,000 agents also attending through a platform and a simulcast. Right? So that's our, I think this has strengthened us for the coming year now in terms of training and events. The suppliers are reporting to us that the size of our events, the engagement of our agents, the energy and participation, the thirst for knowledge and learning is something they've never seen before. So we're getting the highest marks around this training. And I can guarantee you, after 30 years in this business, there is a very simple equation, as simple as 1 + 1 = 2, and that is training equals sales.
Okay, all right. Let's just finish on your sort of comments around 2021. We're obviously, you know, people have been hoping to get something out of 2020. It keeps dragging on, and it's been very difficult to make much of the summer a little bit before we got our corridors and quarantines and things in the UK. I think people are still hoping they might have a bit of a winter, but it's looking tricky. So just give us your sort of view, your prediction perhaps for the winter and the summer from the UK market. I mean, you mentioned cruises so important to you, but we're still, you know, not able to sail on cruises from the UK. So what's your view for demand and for trading in the next few months?
Well, I'm on the advisory board for CLIA, and we've been meeting much more than in a typical year. And there have been a lot of updates recently. This past week was a big week in the US, and there seems to be some movement with the CDC and the resumption of cruising in the US. I do not have a crystal ball. I believe right now, anyone who says this is going to happen or that is going to happen in the future, you should shut off like that, because no one really knows. What I do know is when it's safe to travel, I have no doubt that the market will rebound, and it will rebound with a vengeance. There will be revenge buying and a whiplash return to the market, and I'm almost frightened by it that we won't be prepared from an operational point of view and that we'll somehow get overwhelmed. I mean, that's how sure I am that that's going to happen.
Well, that's very encouraging.
When it's going to happen, I don't know. But people are resilient. They will accept the new normal of social distancing and masks, even on cruise ships, until there's a new normal after that and a new normal after that. And travel will not look exactly like it did a year ago, but there are a lot of things that will come to us from this that are actually improvements.
And you say you're worried you're not going to be prepared, but will your tour operation, your packaging business be ready? And will that help prepare you?
Well, if I have anything to do with it, yes, it will be ready.
You're waiting for this license. All right. Well, look, it's great to talk to you. And I guess we'll speak again, hopefully soon. You said shortly. So, I mean, maybe we'll hear news about your ATOL license. And I'm sure you'll keep us updated on everything else that you're doing, these acquisitions potentially that are in the offing. So please do keep us abreast of those, James. And thank you very, very much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me. Still believe in travel.
Great. All right. Good place to end it. Thank you very much, James Ferreira from Inteletravel.